Welcome everybody. First episode of the Stupid Podcast.
Yeah.
So why the Stupid Podcast? Let's start with that.
Well, I'm starting now just with lifting, and I'm coming from the world of track, so this is very new for me.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go, we're busy for what are we doing? 2 months?
Yeah, week 8 right
yeah,
now of the programming.
Week 8, and
first mesocycle of powerlifting for you.
Yeah. So as we doing this, I'm learning a lot, and I'm asking also a lot of stupid questions. And I thought maybe some people can relate to me on certain things. And I feel like I should be allowed to ask every question I want to, even though, I'm not secured with a ring yet, and that kind of makes me nervous to ask certain questions. I feel like I should be able to ask any question I want.
Right, well, you should anyway, but I think it's
no,
something...
I'm making a joke,
yeah.
but...
I think everybody can relate to that one, because I know I've been told many times that there are questions people just don't dare to ask me, or whatever the hell it is.
You're a smart guy, and I consider...
At my moment.
Yeah, and you sometimes can come up as a little, how you call that, you can make certain faces. Let me say it like that. Let me phrase it
I've made
safely.
faces at certain questions.
You can make faces like, well, what do you mean? And with that expression of yours, like, how can you even dare me to ask this question?
That might have happened, but it comes from all the love in my heart.
Yes, but it makes it, for some people, let me say, I can imagine that for some people, it's kind of hard to approach you with some basic questions, and especially if you're just getting started, or you're a bit younger like me, or just getting into lifting.
It has been said. All right, so we figured that we would do a podcast. It's a bit like a Q&A format, where you guys are allowed to ask any questions. So if you don't want to put your name on the question in the comments or on Mighty Networks, where the Stupid Podcast will live, and you don't want to see that it's you who asked, you can just ask Janine directly. You can just send her a message and say, can you ask coach for that, please?
I have no issue taking the blame.
Right, exactly. So I can't really be too mad at her. So that might be your way out.
You can't be mad at all at me. I don't think
so that's your way out. There you go. So all those questions that you never dare to ask me, you get a chance, right? So it'll be a Q&A format type of stuff. And then we'll also address simple points of lifting. Like we were talking about that yesterday, like should you work on your strength or weaknesses? Stuff like that.
Which is I think it's a very interesting point also from, I come from sprint, which is very different, but also the same in a way. And it brings up, interesting points like that. Should you work on it?
Right. And then, by the way, speaking of that, the stupid questions will go on both sides, because I'm going to ask her some stupid questions. Because we're going to talk about sprint and sprinting drills and sprinting technique, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. And so this stuff where she talks about the position of the foot, where I'm like, so you want your foot at 90 degrees? Like literally, question like that. Well, she looks at me like the way probably I look at you guys when you ask those types of questions. So it'll be perfect. And since you don't have a ring yet, you can't make those faces at me. So there you go. I'm going to put Eddie Murphy on that. I don't see a ring. I don't see no ring on that finger. So that's going to be the idea of the podcast. That's why we call it the Stupid Podcast.
Yeah, not because it's stupid, but just because there's
there's a place for stupid questions. How about that?
Yeah,
because I say that in seminars all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, there are no stupid questions.
There are no stupid questions.
And then someone asks you a question, you
and
look
I'm
at them
that's a stupid question.
and you look at them with that eyebrow, one eyebrow thing you do. You know exactly which face I mean,
totally.
like that.
But it comes from all the love in my heart.
Yeah, but it's also more like a basic podcast.
I know.
You go into very complicated, interesting ideas on your weekly podcast, which are amazing to listen to. But for someone who just gets into the principles, it can be super overwhelming. I can imagine. I'm with you every day. Yeah. I train with you every day, and I still have certain questions.
No, because I want a podcast where I get to talk about simple stuff.
Yeah. And
it's heavy every week to go into the thing. I mean, I do it all the time. So, we get Kitty back.
Hey,
but,
hey, Puss.
But I would like to have a podcast where I get to talk about the simple points as well. Like, why are we lifting without shoes and without belt right now? Because people can see that on video.
Because we don't have any.
Is that what you think, we're lifting without shoes and belt? No, that's not because we don't have any. All right, so question one of the Stupid Podcast. Do we lift right now without shoes and without belt because we don't have any? That is not the reason. So I'm going to explain the why, for example, and then that'll be for today. Then next week we'll go into should I lift, how about weaknesses versus strength? Which one should I work on? Simple subject, but we'll talk about it. Because I would like to keep those ones short as well.
Yeah.
That way we can always do more.
Yeah.
And we can release 2-3 a week whenever we feel like it. One whenever we feel like it.
Yeah.
No pressure. We just
we already did
questions.
one on the circle.
Yeah, but that's it. It ended up being so long that's going to be episode 169.
Oh, yeah, right.
So let's do the first one on how come we're lifting without a belt and without shoes. So, by the way, no, we don't have any, but that's because right now...
I was not wrong.
Very well. So, and that's how the podcast starts. The reason we did not put the belt or anything like that is that Janine is brand new to powerlifting. She's extremely strong naturally. That was covered on the circle thing podcast. That's going to be the name of the episode. The circle thing. I like it. And so right now what she needs to work on is getting used to having weight on her back. And without a belt means we can keep the weight lower. And she has to learn and know how to move weight. And you don't, because you moved yourself and the track for years and years and years. You got really strong, but without really working on it. Right now, it's week after week after week of your structure handling weights. And the soft tissue are suffering and all that stuff. And I don't want to make things easier. So I'm going to teach you how to brace with a belt. But first is like, let's teach you how to deadlift without a belt, like a normal movement. Like how do you pick something heavy? And feeling your spine wanted to go some places, having to tighten up everything where you go, oh, that's weird. The weight on your shoulders and it hurts. And then the soft tissue isn't happy and you go like, well, I can't go as fast as that's weird. How do I do this?
For me, what gets me the most is the pause, because I'm so used to doing one very fast movement or making a movement as fast as possible or doing it well under speed, and now I have to wait, which is crazy.
For example, so that actually, let's talk about this because that's a very good point. The reason I make her pause or even squat is because, for example, as we go heavier, she shortens the squat so she can keep the speed going. What she wants is to go foo-foo, really fast, flawless, perfect, winning. That's not lifting weights, heavy. Like, you're not going to win every time, and you might feel like you're going as fast as you can, and you're still slow as shit.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to learn to grind, not every rep, but it's a weird feeling. You know, when you used to just
yeah, and
go.
It's also that I have that with the bench. Like when you're here, and you're like it's the last rep,
sticking point there,
and like you feel like you can't handle it, but you have to push up because either you just have to finish the thing, right? And I just like at first it freaked me out so much because it would not move as fast as I used to.
Exactly.
I'm like,
and you know that I had that with Olympic weightlifters on the deadlift or the bench. They struggle tremendously with that, not being clean, perfect, pretty, going up. Yeah, they can't handle it, and so suddenly you have to grind, and they can't because it's like, well, it's. You know, you can tell like they're just not used to it. Their entire system just does not know how to grind a rep, stay with the technique, and just push through the sticking point. They just want everything to be quick and easy.
Yeah,
like a snatch. A snatch, it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It's extremely complicated. But they want the feeling to be simple, to be tata. Like you don't feel the weight, you just stand up. Sometimes with heavy weight, it's a fight. But it's a messy fight. I mean, it's a grind. It's like strongman. It's ugly. It's messy. It's slower. And you're going to have to... But that's true strength. Because stabilization is far more important, stuff like that. So
that's the part that freaks me out still.
Right. So using the squat as an example, she was squatting down, but then she was starting to shorten the rep. She wasn't going to depth anymore. And if Janine wants to compete, she has to learn that. And as it got heavier, she started to shorten the reps to go at the same speed. So the key was like, all right, so we have to teach you to go to the same depth, to the same movement, whether it's an empty barbell or 100 kilo on the bar. I don't want the movement to be different. You reach the same depth, you use the same technique. He might not move as fast with an empty barbell as he will with heavy weights, but that's what we're thriving to get to. Eventually, when you go to 100%, you're going to grind. But the idea is like at 90%, we would like to see like exactly the same form, speed when you go down and up, exactly the same way, empty to fully loaded. it's a very specific mindset, right? When it gets heavy, to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's very different from what I'm used to so far. We're not very heavy yet. That it's a big challenge.
It's 100 kilos for 2 reps without a belt. It's heavy. For someone who's 8 weeks into, it's very heavy.
Yeah, it's just I feel like I had it more with the deadlift, with the squat too. But the squat is I feel like I still block myself because I'm afraid of my knee.
Right, and that's the stuff we talked about. But there's also simply going down with the weight. You know, when it feels, there's that too that people realize is when it's heavy on your structure and you go down with the weight, it just messes with your head. No one likes to admit it.
You know what I always think? I'm at the bottom, I'm like, whoa, this is very low. I have to go all the way up.
Yours is low.
I'm like, whoa, it's very low. I have to go all the way up.
Right. Right. But so,
and this part of my body is also the longest, so I'm like, whoa, I'm very low now.
Right, exactly. But that also means that you might shorten the next rep. Yeah. And so the work is to not shorten the next rep, right? Yeah. And you're in that phase and learning to attack the weight. You still something, you go at it gingerly sometimes when it gets heavy because you get challenged in a way that you're not used to. You'll conquer the weight, but you don't have that mindset yet of like it's either me or the weight, but someone is winning.
Yeah, and I don't have it yet. And also because I also got away from that like completely chaotic mindset and really tried to work on controlling my head in sprinting to be very specific. So to move it to a different mindset is also something that is to get used to, but it's nice because you're fighting something and you're not fighting yourself in sprint, you're moving yourself, so you're in a way also fighting yourself. Here you can just be you're fighting the weight, so it's in a way also easier mindset-wise, which I like a lot. Actually.
Right, it's very different. But so that's why no shoes, no belt right now. And then we pause everything, and then we make sure every movement is correct with the same technique. It's because she has to get used to exactly. She has to get used to the weight. Yeah, because she wants to go up in weight every week and kind of put the belt and more weight. And I'm like, nah. Right now you're going to learn to move with the weight with all the challenges that it implies. Yeah. Once you're comfortable without a shoe, without a belt, then I'll start adding the stuff. But first, there's the base of the pyramid that needs to be built, and then that's usually how I like to do it. So with that, I don't necessarily do that many mesocycles of beltless training. I like to do it because of strongman for myself. Because when you lift a stone and everything, I didn't like to do it with a belt. So I had to be very strong without a belt, like flat shoes and all that stuff. So sometimes I would squat like that. But it's true that once you put the weightlifting shoes and the belt, the squat becomes a much simpler exercise. But that's the point, is right now it's difficult because Janine has to learn to deal with heavy weights on a regular basis for the first time in your life. So that's why I'm just making it harder on you. You're welcome. Exactly. So
I feel like it's heavy, but it's not that heavy. I mean, like
100 kilos.
No, but I mean not the weights. I'm just training the first 2 months. Yeah. It's been really cool. I really find it a lot of fun, especially because we train together, and I find it. I don't feel like it, but I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, train together.
So, but what for you was the biggest difference between getting strong for strongman and getting strong for lifting?
Powerlifting is a skill. Like for strongman, you got to be brutally strong because you have so many different events. It's so many different carries, so many different types of pressing and things like this. Powerlifting is the skill is there. It's 3 lifts. They're always the same. So you have to, if you want to get the max out of your leverage, you do the same technique every time. You have to find what works for you exactly and just repeat. Again and again and again. In strongman, you might, in competition, you will not use the same yoke as you use in your gym. That's a problem. Maybe it wobbles, maybe it's wider, maybe it's narrower, maybe the weight distribution is different. It'll mess with you. I had competition, I remember one where I never touched the yoke before they said 3, 2, 1, go. Couldn't even warm up on the yoke. And they said 3, 2, 1, go, and I can't put my hands in the same place. I had to switch my hand as I'm moving me up. The entire competition, I was so pissed because everything was different. Like you find the log might not be the same width that you're used to. That would fuck
with you so much. Everything in a competition,
And then like a keg and it's loaded a certain way, and then you do a block press that you've never done before. So that's strongman, which I like because it's for strongman you got to be brutally strong.
So would you say the volume is higher with strongman because you have to be so strong?
If you want, no, it's different. Like size matter in strongman and in life, turns out. Like in powerlifting, you tell me that's not true. Now we can, okay, ladies, let's be honest. Come on. I think we can all agree on that one. We've been lied to. Size matters. Like for example, you see the last few strongest men winner outside of Martin Lisset. They're all 2 meters tall and weigh 180 kilo plus. Because it allows you to, long arms allows you to do stuff.
Less impact on the...
Right, and you need a thicker waist just for the stabilization of odd object carrying, stuff like that. Like you have to be massively strong. So, by the way, the best deadlift belongs to the best strongman. That tells you something about back strength. Yeah. So, back strength in strongman is everything. If you look in powerlifting, it might probably be less important, leg strength, but benching, stuff like that is so important. Like so, for example, if you look at the squat, it's a very technical lift. Versus the deadlift, that is all neural output. Deadlift is neural output. I cannot tell you how many people have PR'd their deadlift because they didn't know how much was on the bar. They misloaded the bar and got a PR. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that happens all the time. It never happened on the bench. Ever. You misload, you're buried.
That's what I was so surprised about when I started bench, because I did bench before in my life, but then just in track. But when we started working on the technique, I was like, "Whoa, you do this thing with your whole body?"
By the way,
that was for me. Like that, I think that's the thing that surprised me the most. Stupid way. Like I was like,
you use your legs when you bench?
Yeah, also your back, because
I would always. How about we talk about that on the next one? Do you use your legs for benching?
That's funny. Yeah, for me, I thought it was just a shoulder thing, and so when we started doing the thing, I was so surprised. I was like,
I have to use my lats.
What? Yeah, my back was cramping. I was like, "What you doing? Like, you're not involved in this conversation. This is an arm."
So wait, the dogs went crazy because I'm guessing my cat went downstairs. So
there's one dog that Julian might want to shoot one day because it barks.
I'm not gonna say that on YouTube because we're gonna get comments, but I'm not gonna shoot the dog.
No,
but if he dies by accident one day, I will not be entirely upset.
He barks every night, and then
like
not
he woke
for
me
1
up
hour.
From like literally 4 to 5 2 nights ago. Anyway.
But it barks all night. It's incredible what a voice he has.
Welcome to our lives. Yeah, like you have to use your lats on the lowering of the weight and all that stuff. Right? So for strongmen, back strength is everything.
Which is your biggest...
My biggest thing, that's why I was doing one in strongman. The squat is a very technical lift. So remember I said like every performance can be neural output versus muscle capacity versus skill. Squat is a skill lift. The muscle capacity lift is a bench press. The neural output lift is a deadlift. Yeah, muscle capacity on the bench is everything. Just you want to bench more muscle. Get bigger. Like there's no question. Not even close. And it's a matter of can you carry more muscle. And it's a lot of triceps actually. People think it's a chest exercise, it's a tricep exercise. And you need bigger triceps. Yeah, all that stuff we do, you just need big arms. You want a bench press? Big arms. Big arms more, and the lats on the way down. Yeah, exactly. So powerlifting is going to be that. It's going to be like a lot of work on the skill. On the squat, you see that someone goes to a squat clinic, comes back with a 20 kilo PR. Yeah, that happens all the time. On a deadlift, on the bench, no way. And the bench, like you can do like a 6 to 8 week cycle for the squat. The bench, we're talking 12, 14, 16 weeks, like a slow increase. So in case you don't want to max out your bench too often, you can do it on the squat, you can't do it on the bench. So whenever...
But will your bench also naturally go up as your muscle?
So that's very interesting. Usually as you get bigger, yeah. But for example, when your bench goes up, your strict press, shoulder strict press does not go up. When your shoulder strict press goes up, your bench goes up. Because you're developing your tricep power. But that does nothing for your strict press because of the mobility and stuff. So there's correlations between lifts like that are very, very interesting. So powerlifting is going to be a lot more precise on all that. If you really want to
Which
be
I
good,
like though.
You have to be very precise. Strongman is you have to be brutally strong. So more assistance work, more angles, more just be fucking strong. Powerlifting, you gotta have to be precise, and so that's why you see so many programming with percentages and stuff. They're just trying to get the max out of every little thing that they can. So it's strongman is a Viking sport. Powerlifting is an accountant sport. They love percentages. They love the stuff, the precise, the thing. Yeah, so it's a very different mindset too. And powerlifters are the most insane people I've ever met. Yeah. It's a very good question.
What makes them insane in your eyes?
Well, I've seen some powerlifting federations when the guy comes, it's hard rock music in the back. Those are the people that take the most drugs, performance-enhancing drugs in the world. Like it's insane.
It's a type. You mean like a
I think there's a personality type into that kind of stuff. Not to say all powerlifters do drugs, but
you were saying some comfortable stuff in this podcast,
right,
but people might not.
Yeah, might not. Well, then yell, and then I'll explain in the next one. But knowing, I've known pro powerlifters that took more drugs than pro bodybuilders.
But for competition or for fun?
To become stronger.
Oh, okay.
But they would take,
I thought like party drugs.
They would take anabolic steroids to get bigger, so that they could lift more. But in dosages that were mind-blowing.
But a lot of competitions are doping
Not
measures.
all of them.
Not all. There's.
No, a lot of competitions are
you see,
not
I'm
drug
really
tested.
new to this. Where
No, we're going to compete in the IPF because they are drug tested.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, I'll compete as a master at some point as well once my number go back up. So it'll be fun.
It'll be cool.
So we can compete together. Yeah. Cool. But I've known powerlifters that took dosages that I was like, you are joking. Like, they don't even calculate in milligrams or milliliters. They go in bottles. I take such and such bottle like a week.
But that was when you were in it, which is also a long time. Not to offend anyone right now.
No, but that hasn't changed. It's still there. When I was in it, no, I wasn't doing that. But they were doing it. But because I was in strongman, which is, they still take a lot of stuff in strongman, but powerlifting is, of all everybody I talk to, it's powerlifters that are by far the most. Why? I don't know. But it's true. I know.
We're completely clean. We're not going to do that.
I compete in the IPF, so that's easy. You can test me. Be super soft. I don't even do TRT. So, but when I was in strongman, I talked to some guys, and then there was a next level to reach, and I said no because the stuff I'm not doing.
Yeah. Well, that was very important moment for you. Were like,
no,
you saw that and you were like,
no.
Yeah, exactly. You saw that and you were like,
well, but plus at the time I'm 40 already.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 40. I'm like, guys, I'm not doing this shit. And by the way, I have a business to run. I have a kid. I have stuff, and I'm like, and I have no problem with steroids. They want to do it. I have no issue with it. It's just I wasn't willing to do it. That's all. But maybe you can call me a wuss on that one. Maybe it's me. I have no issue with it. They want to take steroids. I got no problem with people taking steroids. I don't know why we let people take painkillers, but not steroids. To me, that makes no sense. We let people on anti-inflammatories that will harm your body way more than steroids. I don't see why. Like you can be on Ritalin and go to the Olympics, or Ritalin or the other one, Adderall, and go to the Olympics. How is that not performance enhancing? That makes
honestly,
no sense.
For me, I don't have much to say on that subject because I truly don't have any experience with stuff like that. So I can't really talk in this, but
performance enhancing is performance enhancing. If your shoulder is busted and you take a painkiller, allows you to go into the next game and do well, it's called performance enhancing. So anyway, that's for another podcast.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a subject that I'm not as.
I'm just annoyed at the criticism of steroids when we let people get away and hurt themselves with other stuff that are just as dangerous to them as steroids are. Anyway, it was just to say I have no issue with it. I'm not going to do that shit. Plus, we're going to get a kid next year, and so I'm not doing any of this shit. So there you go. So
if we are blessed and if everything happens the right way and I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it.
Jinx it, okay. Anyway, Stupid podcast. All questions are welcome. So post in the comments. Send messages to Janine.
Send me a message if you have a question, or we will post a sticker. I think we should post a sticker on the story where people can just ask questions.
And honestly, any question.
Yeah, any question will do.
And this one is to be fun.
And
that's why we call it the Stupid Podcast.
Yeah, and also,
there's no pressure on that one.
Yeah, there's zero pressure, and we can go from a bit more complex questions to a bit more basic questions, and it will cover up my questions. So I have some questions.
I have so many questions. That's why, like the serious subjects, the sense of self and stuff, I can keep going on the Strongfit podcast. But I would like to have a place where I can just say what I want. I mean, I usually say what I want.
I was going to say that.
But like the less serious subjects.
Yeah.
Like, would I do steroids? Yes, I would. But I would have no problem doing it. But I would have to have doctors, so it doesn't impact my health.
Yeah.
Right now, because of the kid, that's out of the question. And to compete at the IPF, I have to be clean. So therefore, at this point of my life, no. Do I have a problem with it? I don't have either. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to do it either because.
No, because you're gonna compete in the IPF.
Because I don't want to.
There you go.
Even if I would have the choice, I would not want to. But anyway.
Yeah. No, but you're not taking painkillers either, anti-inflammatories, and none of that shit.
No.
Adderall, Ritalin.
We don't even take supplements.
No, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust the fitness industry with that stuff. We don't even take protein powder or any of that. So in Brazil, the food is of excellent quality here, so that's what we get. But we want a podcast where there is no stupid questions, where there's no stupid answers. There will be some, but that's okay.
It was like the time, remember in Amsterdam when I asked you, like, about the Parmesan, if it made me faster or not.
Oh, because it's glutamate. Yeah. I was like, no, probably not. Or did you ask me if you could get what was you thought you could test positive of? Because she was in a track and field and she was being tested at every competition. So anyway, right.
There are just questions like that.
That will be the podcast. It'll be that, or just us talking. If you have any questions that you feel were never answered because I looked at you,
or you're afraid of that look because you can. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That look.
So, and with the tattoos and everything, you can be quite intimidating to some people. Not to me, but to some people you can be. Yeah. So he's actually a softie. Honestly, you are such a softie.
Like all people know me, I'm such a softie.
Yeah, such a softie.
That's all.
You're still such a softie.
I am a softie.
With a really good heart.
Anyway,
so
that will be the podcast. So any question, anything you want us to talk about, bring it on. My dear, episode 1.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.